Hey everyone, I'm going to use this video to talk about a post that I saw on LinkedIn. And it was one of those posts where I did a double take and then I did a triple take. And I was like, oh, I need to write that down on a Post-it note and put it above my desk because I like it that much. So the post was made by an organization called the Product School. And I think it was by their founder, Carlos, is the one who posted it. And if you don't know, the Product School is an organization, a relatively new organization that is focused on educating people about how to be product managers and product management professionals. They have some great free resources online. If you go to their website, I can link it up at the bottom, but they've got some great free resources, and then they have courses for, I think it's 3 different levels that you can achieve through the Product School. And the interesting thing about them is the courses are taught by experts in the industry. So your instructor is going to be someone who is like a director of product at a large tech organization like YouTube or Google or Facebook or Stitch Fix or something like that, some really big organization, and that's who your instructor is going to be. So I have not taken any of those courses. I can't speak to that personally, but it looks very intriguing. And product management is something that I personally am very interested in because there's been a lot of overlap with product management in my project management career, and it sort of seems like kind of a natural trajectory to move in that direction. So I've been looking at a lot of the resources from the Product School, and it's great because there's no product management degree currently in most schools that I know of. It's sort of this new thing that's been developed over the last 10 or 20 years or so, and so to have a resource like the Product School is really great. So that was a side note. I will go back to my Post-it note. The post that I saw said, here's my Post-it note, see? The post says, without data, you are just a person with an opinion. Without an opinion, you are just a person with data. Without data, you are just a person with an opinion. Without an opinion, you are just a person with data. Okay, I love this. I love this so much for a couple of reasons. Because I love data, right? I love making decisions based on data. I think it's super smart. I have learned that data is something people respect in the workplace. You can have opinions, right? Like you can have thoughts, but if you don't have data, then it really doesn't mean much. On the flip side, I have learned also that if you don't have an opinion about something, people respect you less, or they don't respect you. It's like you gotta have a brain. Like you need to be able to answer those questions on the fly simply because you have a brain and you have an opinion and you've been thinking about things. You shouldn't always have to look up your numbers and have data points to refer to, right? Like we want to have opinions too. And especially in product management, it's super important that you know your product well enough to where you will have opinions based on, your product and your user well enough to where you're going to have opinions as to what your users might want or what you think they might want based on feedback you've gotten from them or based on your own use with the product. So super important to have an opinion, super important to have data. Both of those things together, I do think is what makes some of the strongest product managers because they are so invested in that product. To kind of bring this around to startup project management, I think it's a totally valid statement for startup project management too, because as we've talked about before, there is a lot of overlap in startup project management with product management. As a startup project manager, you're likely going to need to know your product pretty well, your clients pretty well, your engineering team pretty well. You are going to need to think about those things critically, right? And have opinions on those things and be able to speak your mind to those things in a respectful way. but you're also going to need to make sure that you're doing your research and you have data that is going to lead you towards those more informed kind of decisions. So both of those things together is what makes a really passionate, dedicated, driven startup project manager, or certainly product manager. So yes, love this. Data plus opinions, amazing. I hope you got something out of that. Thanks for joining me.